Okay, so as we were saying, the advantages that Atlantic City and Pleasantville have, its uniqueness that isn't matched anywhere in CD2. And the uniqueness of these two bordering municipalities, um, 90, upper 90% is Democrat in both Atlantic City and Pleasantville. Even though if you look at the voter rolls in Atlantic County, when you look at Atlantic City and you look at Pleasantville, you'll see a lot of high percentage of Democrats, but not that high. But when you factor in, there's a lot of people who are unaffiliated in these two municipalities, and we know from our experience with interacting with the voters, a lot of voters don't participate in the primary, so they don't declare themselves. But we know that they are Democrats who haven't declared themselves Democrats. So we know that the overwhelming majority of those who are unaffiliated in Atlantic City and Pleasantville, no doubt about it, they're Democrat. And when they vote in the general election, they vote Democrat. They just don't participate in the primary because, unfortunately, there's not that bigger effort to try to get out and get people to come out and vote in the primary. So there isn't a municipality in CD2 that matches that high percentage of Republicans where the Republicans could match that. So if there's a high turnout in Atlantic City and Pleasantville, that would influence the numbers in Atlantic County, which is the largest county in CD2, which we give the Democrats a very, very significant send-off and advantage. And if they were able to get more participation from other municipalities in Atlantic County and in CD2, then they have a very good chance of being successful. And that's why Atlantic City and Pleasantville is very, very important strategically. Because nowhere else, the Republicans don't have that kind of significant amount of, 90, you're looking at 95, 96% of the registered voters are Democrat. If you can get them to come out and vote Democrat, that's significant.
Do you think that there's a special motivation this year, given the national volatility of politics and presidential politics?
Yes, mainly because the big fight, CD2, Van Drew switching from Democrat to Republican. There's a lot of attention on CD2. Trump did very well in CD2 last election, even though he lost by I think about 5 points. And it's more effort.
He won CD2 by 5 points, didn't he?
No. Hillary bested him by I think it was 5 points, but he did very well. They said some people say I don't think that he won, but even so,
She beat him in Atlantic, definitely.
Definitely in Atlantic County, but even Atlantic County was kind of close. Unfortunately, Hillary was just a bad candidate. She was, and.
But Craig, there's a potential for another candidate who might not be ideal this time because there's so much fracture in the party. Yeah. How do you size that up and the influence?
I see it the same way as, and I hate to say it, and probably a lot of people, but I'm just going to be honest. I think that it looks like Trump's going to get reelected, to be honest with you, because the Democrats don't have their act together. They're leaning toward Bernie Sanders, which is a lot of fluff, and I think he's the ideal. He's the Hillary Clinton for Trump.
What's the best case scenario at the convention? Let's say they go into the convention in Milwaukee and they don't have a candidate yet. In a brokered convention, who do you think would be the best person? You're in Atlantic County, you're in Atlantic City, you're looking at the dynamics of the presidential contest, how it impacts your world. Who would you want to see stand at the top of that ticket?
I would like to see Bloomberg. I think he's the strongest because he has a lot of money to not only to match, he would surpass Trump in and funding. But I think that it's leaning Bernie, and it's unfortunate because really, in my opinion, Bernie Sanders really isn't a Democrat. He's an independent. He caucuses with the Democrats, but when he runs in Vermont, he runs as an independent. He doesn't run as a Democrat. So, and I think that because of he's really a socialist Democrat, it plays right into the hands of the National Republican. They party. They want that's their candidate. That's their candidate. That if they could handpick, that's the one that they're attempting to handpick, and I really believe that they are influencing, in these Democrat primaries, especially where Republicans can go over, and they are helping Bernie because if Bernie wins, Trump wins.
Bloomberg didn't look especially animated the other night. It wasn't the best performance in the world. There are questions about the excitement factor. Moreover, in urban areas, there are issues going back to his time as mayor, specifically
Yes.
stop and frisk.
Yes.
You don't see those as non-starters. How does he overcome an issue like stop and frisk in Atlantic City?
I think that the main thing is just not only in Atlantic City but all across the United States. I think that he is the candidate that could give Trump a run for his money, and more than that, I think that he could, if the Democrats got behind him, that he could win. Bernie is not the one. He's not. I know not only in Atlantic City but across the country, people are not ready for a socialist president. In the United States, Bernie is, he wants. He's telling everybody gets free education, you get free health care, there isn't anything free, you gotta pay for it. Yes, the Affordable Care Act really needs to be enhanced. It can be tweaked and made a lot better, and that public option can be a part of it. But just to Bernie's idea of taking away people's choice to with the coverage that they have, that's going to destroy the Democrats.
Senator Menendez this week called for an open primary in New Jersey. Do you agree with him?
Yes.
Closer to home, Atlantic County. Could you tell me a little bit about the process of congressional candidates going out and seeking committee support ahead of that March 8th convention?
Yes.
What's going on?
Well, I know that Atlantic County is significant because it is the largest county in CD2, and also the demographics of the Democrats. That it would be extremely important if the candidate who gets Atlantic County's support has a very good chance of being successful. Even though Bridget has a lot of endorsements from party bosses, but that doesn't equal votes for her. So even though she has the endorsement of a lot of the party bosses, like I said, that doesn't. I don't think that it automatically turns into votes for her in those areas. I think that there will be a split, and Amy does well enough to hold her own against Bridget in some of those areas, and then does very well in Atlantic County. She could be successful. And that's what I'm hoping for.
What is your sense mathematically right now, realizing that maybe you can't give me an exact head count, but is there a mathematical path to Amy Kennedy getting the backing of the party organization in the county at this time?
I think she has a good shot. I think because of the charm, the way she comes across as just an ordinary mother, and not really, even though her last name is Kennedy, but still, she's never run for anything, so she's not tainted by being a part of, the ordinary people who just run all the time and they're part of the Democrats. So she's new, and she just comes across very genuine. and I think that's what is going to make the difference for her versus Bridget, who comes across as, status quo candidate, and even though, and she's run before, she's never won, but she just comes across as too political, too status quo.
Is this just an organizational fight, or do you see any issues in the primary that differentiate the two candidates that people are considering on the ground here, committee members?
Yes, I think that again, you have your Democrat loyalists, and they'll follow the party and the party line, but there are a lot of new voters and some frustrated voters that will make the difference, and I think that's advantage Amy. That's my opinion.
Craig, what's the mayoral race impact on the Congressional 2 primary? So there's a mayoral contest, the incumbent is running, there's a candidate running against him. What's your sense of how that connects to this?
I think that by it being a highly contested primary in Atlantic City helps, because it's going to be more turnout. So, the hotter the contest is, more people will participate, and I think that's good. That's good for the Democrats to get more people.
Will the congressional candidates be forced to bracket with mayoral candidates and vice versa?
That's going to be interesting, because in Atlantic County, we know that it's a convention, and even though statutorily the chairperson can pick whoever he or she wants to get the party line, it's going to be interesting because we don't know by time June who's going to, for president, who's going to be the candidate that's going to get most of the party lines across the state of New Jersey. So that's going to be interesting. So I don't know, but I know that in Atlantic City, because of heated contested mayoral candidate, it's going to drive up more voter participation, which is good for the Democrats in CD2.
It's good in the general, but can it be complicated in the primary? If, for example, I want to be with that mayoral candidate, but the structure prevents me from going there, how do you get around that?
I think that, for example, I don't think that the incumbent mayor right now, Marty Small, will get the line. But it's like, if the candidate in CD2, if they're on the line, say, for example, with Bloomberg, and then the mayoral candidate is on a different line, that's going to be confusing. So I don't know how it's going to work out. So we don't know, because unfortunately New Jersey is one of the last states to have their primary for the president, in terms of the presidential, and how that's going to impact. We don't know at that point who's going to have a lot of delegates, who's going to really be the front runner. We don't know.
So just to recap, you believe that in this Congressional District 2 race that Amy Kennedy is in a good position to get the line in Atlantic County?
I wouldn't say good. I would say she has a good chance to do it. And I think, and I think that because of her personality, her being genuine, she comes across that way, and that's what is attractive to a lot of Democrats, that she comes across genuine, as someone that you can relate to, and she's genuine.
If she doesn't get that line, you believe she still can compete in the primary?
Yes.
I'd imagine that other candidates would have to back her, other people in the race would have to. What are the chances of that happening, A, to your knowledge right now? And B, what's your confidence? You mentioned Pleasantville, but what's your confidence in the connectivity of your organization and her brand with other pockets of Democrats that could help her compete off the line in Atlantic?
Well, with our organization and with our effort, what we do, we add a lot of new voters to the equation. And that is extremely helpful, because there's as you know, that there's a certain percentage of people who are party loyalists, and they're going to just took the party line pretty much, and there will be a split between, um, let's say, Amy and Bridget, um, and then there are a whole lot of new voters who can come in and could turn that around, and that's why I think that Amy has a good chance, because there are going to be a lot of new voters, not in Atlantic City and Pleasantville, but throughout CD2, and they're going to come out really driven by the president, the heat and the battle of the presidential election. So I think that's advantage Amy.
Craig, last question. Anything in the past that this reminds you of? Any other race, in your experience or in your knowledge, that this very interesting current contest is reminiscent of?
You know what? For Atlantic City, it's extremely unique because the mayor doesn't run when the president runs. The mayor runs when the governor runs. But this time, because of the unique situation with our mayor, that now the mayor is on line, which is he or she is the titular head of Atlantic City. So now you throw that in, so that is going to increase turnout in Atlantic City. Otherwise, it wouldn't be that high.
Anything you want to add to what we've spoken about, and anything else on your mind?
With regard to, I hope Amy wins, because I think Amy has a better chance to beat Van Drew than Bridget does. I really believe that, not because of my differences with Bridget. I just think that Amy, because of her ability she's attractive to new voters, young voters, women, more. She comes across, genuine. I think that's why I think she has the best shot against Van Drew. And I think if Bridget prevails, I think that Van Drew will be reelected.
Do you think the organizations lined up in this primary with Bridget Harrison go to war against Van Drew for Bridget Harrison in the general? Or do you think that, I don't mean to indulge in conspiracy theories, but do you think the fix is in, given the relationship that Norcross has with Trump and his own difficulties? I don't mean to get too deep into speculating, Craig, but I guess my question is, will the organizations that back Bridget be motivated to back Bridget in the general against Van Drew, do you think?
I don't think so.
Why not?
Because the Norcross and the Norcrosses of CD2 is really not no great big deal who is the congressperson, because their power is state.
So it's not nefarious, it's just a matter of prioritizing. Like, it's not a high priority for them.
Correct, and I think Norcross would like for Bridget to win, but he's not going to throw in all his marbles for her, because it's not that significant. That she would be one of 400 something people, and that is no big deal. But in terms of state, assembly and state senate, that's something different, because it's a small group and you can have more influence when you have like 6, 7, 8 people, assembly or state senators. You can get a lot of things done.
I gotta ask you this. Sorry, I keep saying last question. Then I ask you another question. I'm sorry, but it's just interesting. So, you've worked with Van Drew in the past. What was your personal reaction to him switching parties? Did it surprise you at all? How did you digest that?
I saw it coming. I don't agree. I think it just wasn't good. Just wasn't good, because I knew that even with the impeachment, I knew that he would never be convicted in the Republican Senate, because they are so strongly united. And the Democrats should take a page out of being unified, like the Republicans. And for example, when they had the votes, when Obama's first 2 years, they should have gotten more things done. Because the moment that they lost control of the Senate, the next, the other 2 years of Obama's first term, and then all 4 of his second term, he really didn't accomplish anything. So take a page out of the book. Be united. When you have the power, use it. Good to the good. But I think the Republicans, to their credit, they show, you have the power to use it. Because, why why have a gun if you're not going to use it? You just got the trigger cocked, you never fire it. You have the power to use it. And that's one thing the Republicans have shown. You have it, use it. But I don't think they've used it to the good. But the Democrats were, more, more compromise. We're going to let them. Even like Obama, he used a lot of the Republicans, their ideas and their suggestions, and they still didn't vote for it. But that's the way it is. That's unfortunate though. But I think that Jeff made I think, in my opinion, ideally, I think that to not support the inquiry when it was so clear that there was laws that were broken and things that had happened. He should have supported it, just like Mitt Romney did, out of principle and morality. He should have done it. He should have. And that's my opinion. And I really, really disagree with his position, and it's unfortunate because I like Jeff, but he made the wrong decision.
Thank you, sir. Appreciate it.